We are rolling.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Creative Businessmen. Today we have Michael Sharma on with us.
Hi.
He is a, I guess you're a tech or a network specialist.
Like a jack of all trades IT guy. It
Yeah.
means I suck at everything.
No, he's a good IT guy. We'll say that.
Yeah, good, really good.
And you also suffer from a rare form of muscular dystrophy, so we'll have you talk about that too. What's it called?
It's Becker's muscular dystrophy.
Becker's.
That's the one
Okay.
that I got. Yeah.
So where are you from, Michael? Originally?
I am from High Point, North Carolina.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I was actually born in High Point, and we moved to Michigan for like a year when I was like 3-ish, and then Mississippi, and then here.
So why the moves?
Dad was ambitious. That's what we'll call it.
What did your dad do back then?
He's a mechanical engineer.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
Nice.
I mean, he's from India, so like he's also Punjabi. So it's like basically doctor, mechanical engineer. That's
The
about
options.
it for guys his age, where he's from. So
Right.
you know, yeah. And of course, yeah. I know. I get it. Half Indian IT guy.
Stereotypical.
Yeah. Have you tried restarting it? Now that joke's out of the way.
That's funny.
You know what's funny about that is we have IT companies, and like I look so smart many, many times, and the solution is just restarting it. I'll say, let's power down, let's leave it off for 3 to 5 minutes, let's try turn it back on, let's see how it looks, and then it works. Boom! They're all like, "Oh, great job!" I'm just like, "Yep."
If you want to sound really smart, say, cycle the power.
Oh, cycle the power.
Yeah.
They love it. They think you're really smart. Or like if you open the command line and type in some generic command everyone knows for no reason, people will be like, "Oh, he really knows what he's doing." I don't know what that command does, but
Yeah.
it did something. It's like
It just sends baby penises across the screen or something.
That's how we had to play games back in the day. You know,
I do
open
remember
DOS.
that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
do remember that.
I don't want to make you guys feel old, but no, I was born around the tail end of DOS, so 3.1 was the big thing.
What's
when
the
I
guy?
How old are you? Yeah.
I'm 34.
Yeah.
I had to think about
Not
that.
far behind me. 41.
No, I'm really
You're
far.
his age.
Yeah, Duke Nukem.
35.
You remember what
Yeah.
did Duke
I had
Nukem on
to-
DOS?
You're talking about
You
the
remember that,
side-scroller or like the 3D one?
bro? The
The original
The
Duke
original.
Nukem.
Oh yeah.
Computer game. Yeah. You
Yes.
had to use DOS to. Well, I started with Wolfenstein, so we'd have to use
Yes,
DOS.
Wolfenstein. I
Love
remember that.
Wolfenstein. Still play it.
I was
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Wolfenstein
Nice.
it was Doom before Doom was the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
Doom, Wolfenstein, then Doom. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Quake.
We actually played network games over the modem back then, before the internet.
And the dark ages before
Yeah,
the
yeah,
interwebs.
it's funny.
Before the genesis of the interwebs.
This was like 93 or 4.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
one of our neighbors, my dad was in the Army, and he's retired military now, but we were living in Virginia Beach, and we had a neighbor, and I hate that I can't remember his name right now. The name Chris comes to mind, but one of my father's friends. But anyway, I think he worked for Compaq, or he worked for one of the big computer companies, and he programmed. I don't remember what he did, but he's the first one that taught me how to load the games and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm 36. I'll be 37 in October, so just a couple years ahead of you.
You should write your will, dude.
Yeah, maybe.
You got one foot in the grave.
Especially with all this extra weight on me.
Well, technically, we all could have one foot in the grave.
It
Never
looks
know.
good on you, man. Don't worry about
You know what? I think the same thing. I think it does, and I think all this body weight's got me. That's how I keep beating COVID. You know, just it's all the body weight.
I don't-
Forget what they say.
I don't want to whistle at you because I
don't think
don't know
this
how
will-
it's going to come through the...
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah.
So what did your mother do back then when you were growing up?
So my mom's a registered nurse.
Okay.
So it's actually kind of funny when I got diagnosed with muscular dystrophy, she had this like kicking herself in the face moment of like, oh, I should have known, I should have thought about this, or it should have been obvious to me or whatever. Because my uncle, her brother, actually he had it.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
X-linked. It's a genetic thing. So what can happen with, because females have 2 X chromosomes, so they have one that's not effed up and then one that is. Lucky me, I in the dice roll of life.
the bad one.
Yeah. So my and just to add some information, and if this sounds rehearsed, it 100% is, because I talk about it a lot. So
Yeah.
your genes, as many people know, it's not just your eye color, your hair color, your frame. It's instructions for how to like build things.
Right.
And so Becker's and Duchenne's are Duchenne, I think, not Duchenne's, are very closely related. Duchenne's is typically, I think, a deletion of a gene, whereas Becker's is a corruption. So it's actually missing a portion. So it's like baking a cake without eggs or something like that.
You're missing some information.
Yeah, and to you vegans out there, I know it's possible to bake a cake without eggs, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's just go with me or go with me.
It's not the same.
So the protein that's the corruption it's called dystrophin, hence the name dystrophy. Dystrophin. Yeah. So it as well as other proteins assist in kind of protecting the muscle cells from damage, like during like contraction,
right?
Which a lot of people don't recognize that that's a violent thing, like in
your
your muscles when they contract. So as you get older, your muscles waste anyway.
Yeah.
So it's just for me, their muscles are kind of crappy, so they just die faster. And not a lot is really understood. The type that I have mainly affects the like thighs, like quadriceps and hamstrings.
Okay.
So what'll happen first? The first thing to go will be the leggies,
the legs
down here.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's weakness everywhere. Like, I mean, I don't used to like bodybuild and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like, if you look at my biceps, they're all crazy looking, and like my pecs are weird. Like, there's like muscle up here and a little bit here, and like this weird sheathy type thing.
We're starting to atrophy.
Yeah, atrophy's. I don't know if atrophy is the accurate word,
right?
Because I think atrophy is like just a muscle
degeneration.
Yeah, typically from misuse.
Right.
But I mean, I use the shit out of mine. So
yeah.
I mean, I lift weights and ride the bicycles and.
Does that help? Does that slow down the process? Or the disease?
The trend is always down.
Okay.
I don't know, honestly. I kind of stopped seeing the doctors about it a while ago, because you show up, they're like, push this way, pull that way, do this, do that. Like, interesting. That'll be $70.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like they're monitoring. Let's see what kind of fucked you are today.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So there's no real treatment for it then?
Not really. I mean, there's some RNA therapy stuff, I think.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if there's anything with CRISPR, any genetic treatments.
So there's like some stuff kind of out there, and like it's funny because my mom will send me she'll email me stuff every now and then about like treatments or whatever, and I'm like, Mom,
yeah,
like when the big thing happens, like I'll just know, like
yeah.
It'll be all over the damn place. I mean,
that's true.
And
yeah.
muscular dystrophy is not like as well known, mainly because and this is something that I don't know. It's like. Everybody has something,
Yeah.
Some people, whatever it is, anemia, I don't know, any number of things, gastrointestinal issues that are rare. Everybody has something, but
yeah.
When you have a thing that's like more like majorly affecting you, it can be really invalidating when people, a lot of the time, they don't take the time to like understand or like do any homework on it. And I get it if it's just some acquaintance or somebody that like I rarely see, like whatever, like fine, you don't, or it's someone that I work with but I don't work with them closely,
right?
Then I don't really care. It's fine. Like you don't have to know a whole bunch of stuff about me. Like it's not, I'm not like a, but people close to you, a lot of the time they'll choose to learn things. But for me personally, just being the kind of person that has a kind of debilitating illness, like when I hear somebody say they have this thing, it's like, oh, okay. How do you spell that? And then I'll look it up later, like fibromyalgia. I work with a lady that has that, and I learned some stuff about it a while ago. But it's funny because I think, and we talked about this like a little bit before we turned the cameras on, that like MS is the cool one. It's the one that everybody's raising the money for now. Like all the cool kids are doing it,
right?
And usually people that are like in their 50s or whatever, a little bit older than that even. Like I'll tell them about the Jerry Lewis thing. They're like, oh yeah, you've got that. Like, I don't know why that was my impression of an older person.
Surfer dude.
Bill and Ted. So Keanu Reeves was saying, it's that, but that's not the thing. It's not MS. It's muscular dystrophy. But
I knew a guy growing up that had muscular dystrophy, and he was much younger than you when he started having issues with it.
That would be Duchenne.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was I think in his 20s when he started to have a lot of trouble with his legs, and then by 30s he was in a wheelchair, and then and it just kept. But his seemed to be a lot more rapid.
Well, with that timeline, it might have been something different, but it's interesting because it affects people a little bit differently. Like,
Well, he did better than you were supposed to. I remember that they said that he lived way longer than he was projected.
and for me, it's like as messed up as it is, like all we ever do is compare ourselves to each other.
Yeah.
So at least it's not, or at least it's not this thing.
Right. Yeah.
And then maybe someone else with the things I'm talking about are like, well, at least I don't have this. It's like, so for me, it's not as bad as it could be. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like I would love to tell you this amazing story about how I knew exactly what I wanted to be when I was a kid, and I triumphed and achieved it. Well, you guys met at the gym, didn't you?
We met through.
Well, originally,
kind
I
of-
went to rent a property,
Yeah.
and he was the commercial broker. That was technically the first meeting, but like the real meeting where we started like bonding and stuff was at a gym.
Well, it was
Kinda.
through a mutual friend.
Through a mutual friend
that I worked out with, but
that he worked out with. Yeah,
no, not at the gym though. But we
Yeah.
met years ago. This was
I guess.
15 years ago, 16 years ago.
Yeah,
At
it's
least.
been a while. I pulled up in a
2004 maybe or 5.
Yeah.
2005.
5, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, that was the year I graduated high school.
It
Oh,
might-
well.
it
I try
might-
to make you guys feel old.
It
2005.
might have been 04. It's 04 or 05. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
Well, the reason why I was asking was, do you guys know the bodybuilder Flex Wheeler?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
When I was a little kid.
He's an amputee now.
Really?
Yeah, he lost his leg last year or 2 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't even know. I knew he was having some issues with some things, but I'll have to. Wow. Okay, that's
He's doing well with it though.
so interesting.
Yeah, no,
'Cause-
he's such a genetic freak. Yeah.
When I was a little kid, Flex Wheeler was my favorite bodybuilder. I used to walk around the house like in my little tidy whitey briefs, like flexing and stuff, like in the living room, and like it was ridiculous. I could just walk around like flexing and all that because I thought bodybuilders were so cool. Because you see them on, and of course being a little kid, I don't understand. Like and even adults, like we just see that spectacle on the
Right,
stage,
yeah.
and we only see the lights and the applause and all that stuff, and you also don't recognize they're about to pass out because they're severely dehydrated.
Right,
And
yeah.
they spent like the last 3 months eating no carbs, and then shoveled a bunch of carbs down their throat like the hour before the contest. So, but as a kid, like I see, and I just thought it was so cool. And there's Arnold and Stallone, and not that Bruce Willis was jacked in Die Hard, but I mean, he was action star. So
Yeah.
I had this sort of like hyper masculine kind of thing that was sort of sold to me, and like I knew Marines and I thought they were so badass, and I wanted to be a Ranger. And then then I when I got a little bit older, like I was actually bullied as a kid, like a lot,
Yeah.
tons, mainly because smaller, weaker than everybody. Little did I know, there's a reason for all that. So when I got out of school, I started like learning different like fighting arts, I don't like the term art, fighting disciplines. Like I did combat Hapkido, I did Taekwondo, I did Muay Thai, I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I love Jiu-Jitsu. I was in Jiu-Jitsu from 19 to, I don't know, 22, somewhere in there. I trained for a long time. It took me 4 years, and I finally got a blue belt. And it was like exciting and happy and emotional for me because I'd worked my damn ass off, like got my ass kicked by everybody in the school. I got a Student of the Year award, like I don't even remember what year that was now.
That's cool.
Mainly because like I got my ass kicked by everybody, but always like sprung back up to get my ass kicked again. And all the things I wanted to be like were centered around all this physical stuff.
Yeah.
And being someone that gets beat up as a kid, you also want to learn like to defend yourself, and not just yourself, but the people around you. But, December of 2010 is when I was diagnosed, and all of a sudden I realized you can't be anything you wanted to be. It's not even possible for you.
Yeah.
You hear these the Jocko Willinks and the Tim Kennedys of the world, like, you know, I knew I wanted to be a commando, and they did, and now they are. But I mean, there's also like the hundreds of other people that knew they wanted to be a commando that weren't. So we only get to hear the success story, right?
Yeah.
So it was weird, you know. You think there's a thing that's wrong with you. You're weak, and you want to change it, and then you realize you can't. And you know, it's this doom and gloom. You know, you think you're doomed to failure. And I don't want to be so naive as to be like, oh, you got to make a positive out of everything. Some stuff just sucks. The fact that I'm going to be in a wheelchair by around 55 years old, that sucks. But
I think technology's on your side, though.
That's true, yeah.
You're young.
I would agree.
And the technology's, he's going to talk about it, but it grows exponentially, right? We're at exponential growth. So in theory, you know, if there's going to be a breakthrough, I think you're ripe for it. I mean, literally, in the next decade, things are going to change drastically. So you may still have hope for that. I think you should.
Yeah, you should follow some of the guys at Harvard doing the genetic science. You know, they're the leaders in that technology, and they're hopeful for a lot of really big breakthrough technologies around the turn of the decade. So
I remain cautiously optimistic. I mean, I know that stuff that'll happen, but
hopefully during our lifetime.
At some point it will. Whether or not it's, you know, when we're alive. And there's tons of people that thought that things would never happen during their lifetime that did. So
I want to say though, fortunately you're an intelligent guy, so your real strength is in your mind, which is
I am.
The worst scenario would be if you were a dumb guy and you had a debilitating disease that you couldn't do anything. You know, like you couldn't, because your strength is really in your mind, not your physical abilities anyway. But I do understand the losing physical abilities. When I lost my leg, that was a big blow to me. And you know, like you, I got picked on and bullied when I was a kid and stuff, and I was a poor kid, and so I grew up in the '80s, so it was like we were just constantly told like you need to be like these superheroes and these action stars and stuff. So I was really big into physical things too. I mean, he knows, like I was all in with fitness and stuff like that. But when I lost my leg, it was a big. It really shook my reality too, and I can still train and work out and stuff. I have some back issues that also probably cause more problems in my leg, but it was a big lifestyle change for me. But for me, it's been a positive thing. You know, it kind of put me in a different direction. But at the same time, you know, most of what I do is mental anyways. I mean, I do acting and stuff, and that's physical, but I mean, it's both, but there's a lot of physical requirements in that. But anyway, I think the key to your situation is that you are a highly intelligent person, so you know, and everything you've done to make a living has been with your mind. So hopefully that'll stay strong, and then you know, the hope is that eventually the technology will catch up and maybe reverse some of your disease.
Yeah, and I mean, and if that happens, it's awesome. But it's also, you know, like I don't want to put too much faith in it.
Yeah, you can't hope for something that's not here. Yeah,
I don't know, man. He could be like at 50, decide you're going to get in the MMA real bad, and the senior league. Start fucking
the senior league. Oh no, the executive.
The executive.
Yeah, when in jiu-jitsu we call it the executive.
I was going to ask you.
The old guy.
So how long has it been since you trained jiu-jitsu?
Since I actually trained.
Yeah. Or rolled, or you know what I'm saying. How
I got to think now. I stopped for a little while because work and school got kind of crazy, and then I was gonna come back, and I had something weird going on with my knee. And that's when I went to a orthopedist. And doesn't knee stuff suck, though?
It really sucks ass, man.
It's garbage.
It's really irritating me, and it's this piece right here right now. It's got me, but you know, I've lost right at about 100 pounds, but it's kicking my ass. But I want to go back and train jiu-jitsu, but my knee, I'm really worried about.
Is that your meniscus?
I believe it is. Yeah. I'm really worried about finishing tearing it up. But go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, get on it, man. It needs to be torn. Just go back to jiu-jitsu.
Just finish it off.
Finish the job.
Yeah.
Who raised you?
Yeah, I know, right?
Don't give up. So where did you train?
A couple of different places. Team Rock was the last place that I trained, but Reality Combat actually in Chapel Hill out of a gym right off the UNC campus there. But in Asheboro, Paul Sum did my Muay Thai kickboxing, and then we did BJJ there. And then before that, we lived on military bases, so I kind of grew up really on military bases. The only thing that they had was essentially boxing and a couple of different, like, think Krav Maga, kind of similar to that, but military training. And there was only so much that they'd let me do. So I was in there with typically much older, what probably were 17, 18-year-old recruits, which I just thought were older teenagers. But now, like, playing it back in my head, they were probably like 17, 18-year-old new cadets. But I did that, and I boxed at an early age on military bases. And then we got stationed in Asheboro. Did, I think, karate in Virginia Beach, along with the other things. And then got stationed in Asheboro and just switched up. Mainly I wrestled a little bit, but mainly boxing, Muay Thai, and BJJ. So a little bit, I mean, just... We were poor military, traveled. My mom hates when I say that, but you know, whatever was free on base, we did.
Yeah. So, no money fun, man.
Yeah, and bowling. You know, bowling was free on you had the PX and you had a bowling alley on every base basically. So
you know what, dude? I bet it's the bowling that messed up your knee.
It probably did. That's my sliding leg actually. So, and state champion North Carolina was 13, by the way.
Oh wow!
Got a college scholarship and everything for it that I didn't use.
Nothing makes me happier
the
than
Coca-Cola Classic 2000.
Is that really what it was called?
It was the Coca-Cola Classic.
That
yeah.
is.
That's funny.
I finished, I think, 7th or 11th. I can't remember now. And Texas for the Worlds, and state champion was 13. And yeah, fun stuff, man. And quit bowling, by the way, because I hated it. Because I bowled all the time.
Yeah,
When I found out I was good at it, I had to bowl all the time, and I hated it.
I mean, that's what happens, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fighting people's more fun anyway.
Oh, 100%. I definitely enjoyed that more.
It's funny, Team Rock, when I was like competing, Team Rock were those guys that showed up with like 30 people at every tournament.
Oh, yeah.
It's like no matter what, Team Rock was going to win.
They were loaded out. Yeah, always.
They were actually like, and I mean, like, I have nothing against Team Rock, but they were much despised in the area because of that by a lot of the smaller schools. But yeah, it's some
of that was well deserved. I don't know which Team Rock, because there was the one out of Winston, one out of Chapel Hill I did, and then I don't know what year you were doing it. So they ended up being, and they were all technically one team, but they were different factions basically, where they would train in different spots. But there was one that trained in Winston, the one in Chapel Hill, and then
big one in Charlotte too, right?
Yeah, big one in Charlotte. So, and I mean, now it's been a while since I've been in it, so who knows?
That's where
now.
Jeremy was out of, right? Charlotte?
Yeah. Was it Purdue?
Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
So
yeah.
he's professional, right?
Yeah. And he's, I think, Jeremy, shout out to Jeremy Purdue. I'm pretty sure Jeremy is in real estate now, doing well in real estate. So I believe Randolph County, Jeremy Purdue. I think he's with Keller Williams. If I'm wrong, definitely Jeremy Purdue, but you guys look him up.
Yeah, he's a good fighter.
Shameless plug for him.
But
he was an awesome fighter, yeah.
I will be looking up Jeremy Purdue.
Purdue, yes.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yes. He's a family guy. Seems like, he's one of those guys that deceptively, like, if you didn't know him, he's like, you could really think he's a really nice guy, and he kind of looks like he could beat your ass. So
yeah.
he's like walking a fine line.
I'd like to think I'm one of those guys too. No, I feel like people look at me like, definitely a nice guy. Like, nothing else other than that. But
that's good though. You could be a dick.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not exclusive to just guys that look like dicks.
So you went to get your knee checked out, and that's when they found out you had muscular dystrophy.
The orthopedist, so his PA, who is kind of a tool, honestly. I won't mention anything about the organization, but the PA was dismissive because it's not something. And this is something I learned. Actually, I worked at the help desk, actually, kind of between jobs for Baptist Medical Center in Winston-Salem.
Okay.
A lot of specialists will do this blinder thing where they just get so stuck in their lane, and sometimes without like a sort of more holistic idea of things, they can't like point you in the right direction. So the doctor that actually looked at me, the PA actually went out. He's like, "Hey, can you come in here and look at this kid? Like, he has no reflexes in his knees." Which, I mean, I thought, like, fun fact, I have no feeling. I don't know if you actually hear the tapping and like this whole section of my right shin from Muay Thai. Oh, so like I thought maybe it was just from all the impacts, like, because, you know, a knee-to-knee kicking happens, like when someone's kicking and you go to check the kick and their knee hits yours. It's like, ah! So I thought that it was just about from that, from just training, like just having nerve damage and stuff. I actually have a tattoo on my right shin bone. I couldn't feel any of it except for the top. Some people are like, oh, I bet that hurt. Like, bro, it hurts so bad. Like, I'm so tough. Like, you don't even know. I didn't feel most of it. So he came in there and kind of tip-tapped a little bit on me and this thing and, you know, push this way, pull that way, like step up onto this thing. And he was like, are there any dystrophies in your family's history? And I was like, ha, 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 ha. Denial. I just threw my head back. I was like, that couldn't be it. There's no way. No. And I was like, I mean, there are. And so he referred me to Dr. Love, which is absolutely hilarious. It's funny, actually. I was then, so he saw me. It's funny. My mother actually worked at the neurology clinic that Dr. Love worked at, but she worked for another physician.
Oh, okay.
And so she was actually just took like a break and like came and hung out with me and the neurologist, and he like kind of looked at this thing, looked at that thing. And it's really weird though, because this is a myopathy. It's a muscle disease, but it's classified as a neuromuscular disease, which I don't know if it's called that because we don't understand it well or because it affects skeletal muscles. I don't know. But he then referred me to sort of a specialist on this type of disorder. And his name was spelled Dr. Caress. So I went from love to caress. And when I shook his hand, I was like, Dr. Caress. He's like, it's Karis. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, I bet this guy has to deal with people calling him the wrong name all the time, and I just did it. He's like, is he even going to see me now? How annoying. And, then he used a little squishy thing and then, shook my hand and all that. And it's funny because he was at Baptist Medical Center where I ended up working at in IT later. So weird little circles and stuff. And I know you're a car guy. Dr. Love, actually, he owned 4 Porsches. They were all like 80s and 90s Porsches. And his joke was that he could drive one while the other 3 were in the shop. Yeah. So they were basically broken all the time. But he and I kind of bonded over cars too. But
that's cool.
He's retired. The guy sounded like Tom Brokaw too. And he was a workaholic. Like he'd call you at like 10 p.m.
Oh, that's a good doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Mr. Sharma, this just in Tel Aviv tonight. Like, wait, what? Seriously, he sounded just like Tom Brokaw. It was bizarre. And if you don't know who Tom Brokaw is, you're too young to date me. It's about the size of it.
Well, you barely know who Tom Brokaw is, right?
Barely, yes. I was very young, but I remember Tom Brokaw. I remember Tom Brokaw as well as I remember Doss. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
So there. So call back. So me getting my knee checked out to go back to jiu-jitsu ended up this whole crazy shit. And there's a CPK. It's an enzyme that's present in the blood typically after like muscle breakdown.
Okay.
Not typically, I think it always is. So like probably like back in the days when you were like really into bodybuilding, you were lifting like wicked heavy. There's some times where bodybuilders, when they go like on a really heavy day, they can cause a substantial amount of damage to their muscles.
Sure, yeah.
So their CK or CPK levels are like wicked elevated. So that Dr. Love actually sent me off to get that checked, which was unbelievably high. Like I forget what the regular numbers were, but it was insane. And then that was a few weeks before I went to see Dr. Karis, not Caress. And before I went to see the first neurologist, Dr. Love, I looked up some symptoms, signs and symptoms, down the frickin' list, fit every single one.
Wow.
I started crying. I couldn't help it.
What age was this?
That was December of 2010. So I suck at math. What's this year?
21, so that was 11 years ago.
I would have been 23, right around 23, 22, somewhere in there, because I'm trying to think when my birthday is.
Yeah, about 23.
23, 24, somewhere in there. So, and there's just this moment where I thought, all the things, it's all gone. Everything's done. Like, all the stuff that I wanted is finished. Like, I can't be any of these things. Like, that's it.
Yeah, especially at that age.
Yeah.
Yeah, so young.
And, I mean, I just completely spiraled out of control. Like I just went into like binge drinking, like just going out all the time, staying out to 3 or 4 in the morning. And it was just a very like up and down kind of sort of weird, depressive thing. And I became sort of strange and directionless. Actually, when you and I like kind of, I guess you could say we worked together when I did some work actually in this building.
Yeah, we had the Ducati dealership. You did the network.
Yeah.
You were the network. Yeah.
Barely. I was I was pretty smart then, but not as smart as I am now.
Yeah,
I was smarter than the average person. I mean, I was still an
You did a good job. Everything worked right.
Oh, well.
So, yeah, we didn't have any problems.
Awesome. It feels so good to have hit the bare minimum on something. Thanks.
Everything worked appropriately or properly.
That's what we aim for. Like if no one wants to talk about it, it means you did a good job. In IT.
What did they tell you to expect, or what did they say that you could expect with the disease?
I mean, I was just told to keep active and like don't eat shit.
Did they give you like a timeline of changes you would experience, or
not really?
Okay.
Mainly because there's so little known about the disease, and as you can see, like it takes such different kind of turns. Like even someone with, I'm assuming Duchenne's is what the person you knew had. He like seemed to survive quite a while, longer than one would anticipate. And like this, I may or may not die from this.
Right.
But there can be heart involvement sometimes because dystrophin is present in your heart. But
what did what's his name? The famous physicist.
ALS.
It was ALS.
Yeah, so Hawking.
Stephen Hawking. Yeah.
I thought you were going to be like, what disease did Lou Gehrig have? I think they call that
Lou Gehrig's disease.
But that is ALS. ALS and Lou Gehrig's
Right.
disease.
Yeah. Okay.
That's actually what. So yeah, that was and once again, hey, at least he was smart. And because of technology, we were able to actually get and I mean, this sounds selfish, and it is. We were able to get that smart out of his brain. Like he could actually get it out and express it, which was, not just good for everyone else, but, validating to him. And to their credit, like, I don't know how much you know about the guy, but like, if you like met with him and like worked on a problem, you'd have to wait a little while to get a response.
Right.
Because he had to use his little computer and like select the stuff and use the menus. And, the people that he was around, I mean, they were patient enough to do that. And
10 years when Neuralink's a thing, it'll, I'm sure that communication will be a lot faster.
Did you say 10 years?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's got to go through all these trials and studies, and I mean, it'll be in human studies this year probably, but before it's available to the public, 6 years at the earliest probably.
I just want to get Neil started on the crazy technology thing.
Yeah.
We grabbed lunch a while ago, and I was saying to Neil that one of my favorite things about Neil is that he doesn't care how crazy he sounds.
No, not at all.
Like no matter whatever cool, like awesome things happening or that he's seeing or is hopeful for, like he just doesn't care if it sounds nuts.
Yeah.
But that's good. I mean,
well, the people I learn it from are way smarter than I am. So
yeah. And it's like when Elon Musk was like, let's start a Mars colony. What do you think everyone's reaction to that was? You're crazy.
Yeah.
I got a rule though. It's something like I never let the opinions of lesser minds offend me.
Oh, so like nothing I say will ever piss you off.
Well, it's not even that. It's like it's not meant to be like derogatory towards somebody. It's more so like if somebody isn't in that state of mind for whatever reason, right? Not necessarily. There's different levels of intelligence, right? Like if you have a fish that you're trying to teach how to climb a tree, that fish will never be able to climb a tree. And that's kind of the way I look at it. Like we're talking about colonization of Mars, and if somebody else can't comprehend that, they don't understand that. Like I'm not going to be upset or be offended by them because they don't understand. I'm just going to let it is what it is. Maybe they're a fish that needs to stay in the sea swimming, right? And I'm climbing trees. I don't know.
And also big, when you want big changes or anything that's a significant change in the way our reality functions, or with big scientific breakthroughs, it's always those ideas are always jarring to people. They're never subtle things, or they usually go against the grain. Even when Einstein had his ideas, people hated him for it. Because it also when new
challenges,
new hypotheses come out or new theories come out, it breaks the old ones, and then some people spent their whole lives working on a specific set of or a specific type of research, and they've come up with theories and technologies, and then someone else comes out and they build on top of that, and they either prove that theory wrong or find a better way or a better option or a better technology. And sometimes people let their ego get in the way, and they feel like that wipes out what they did. But really, we're all sharing information. We're all sharing ideas. So it's really just a combination of everyone's ideas that turn into these new technologies or new information or new theories or new understandings. And I feel like the more we learn, the more we realize how little we know. And I think that people need to have a big imagination, because that's how you make change is through ideas and not just going along with the going with the flow or
status quo,
the consensus,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it's interesting because like in a somewhat different way, I see people do the same thing with their individual potential. Because what you're talking about is really the potential of humanity as a whole. Like where can we get, like, because colonizing another planet, colonizing another solar system is essentially beating the crap out of nature. Like screw you, nature. Like we kick your ass. Like we'll go here and go here and go here until all the stars burn out in the entire universe. Maybe. See, now I sound crazy.
Unless you consider us part of nature, but
we are nature. We're part of the
true.
system.
That's
Yeah,
true.
it's all one thing.
Yeah.
Nothing's unnatural.
That's a fair point. Actually, I had a similar conversation with someone recently about like if we're a naturally occurring organism, then is anything we do actually unnatural? But with people's potential, it's like so often you'll hear people say like, "Oh, well, I wanna do that, but I just can't." Well, why not? Like any number of things. Like I don't know, get a PhD from MIT, get to the base camp at Everest, climb frickin' Everest. I don't know.
Well, we all definitely have our strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
Some people can't get a PhD at MIT. And some people, we're all predisposed to certain things. We all have interests, and if you're not interested in something, it's going to be really difficult to excel in that area.
That's true. And it's even in situations where someone expresses an interest in something.
Right. Well, that's if you express an interest in it, maybe you should pursue it, or at least investigate it and see if it's something you have any kind of aptitude with.
Well, I actually heard somebody on another podcast. It's to give a fair critique. Sometimes I wish the presenter would stay in his lane a little more and kind of veer a little less, because sometimes he gets in places he shouldn't be. And I don't think, at least, hope that didn't come through on the monitor. I just hit the crap out of this mic. Oh, these are expensive ones. I forgot. Probably didn't. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Do what you want. The mic can handle it. But it's an Order of Man. He has this thing called Friday Field Notes on there where he just talks about stuff he was thinking during the week.
Okay.
And the guy's name's Ryan Mickler. He's got sort of a unique kind of market, but without talking too much about his opinions or other things that he talks about. Like, you don't have to agree with everything someone says. So one thing he said in the last Friday Field Notes was, and I feel like this maybe is a cliche somewhere else, and I just heard it for the first time, dream big but work small. So in order to do something large, you must then put in small bits of individual effort to get there. What's it like writing a book? Was it like 200 crappy words a day or something that an author said?
Totally reminds me of.
That makes sense.
There's a director I love, Akira Kurosawa, and he talked about like just writing a screenplay, which seems it's 120 pages or whatever. It seems daunting for some people, other people not so much. But students around him were complaining about how hard it is, and he said, don't worry about. You're looking at the top of the mountain, and you're scared of that. Instead of just look down at your feet, take it one step at a time, and just keep doing that, and then eventually you're going to be at the top of the mountain.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty
Good
interesting.
advice.
Yeah, and it's 100% true. Like if you whatever big thing, because a lot of the time people talk to me about getting in shape or whatever. They see me with my road bike on the back of my car, and I put on my super tight outfit that, by the way, causes a lot of body image issues. Body image issues are very common among cyclists. They wonder about me and what I'm doing, and they'll ask me questions about getting in shape or whatever, and I'm like, okay, well, what do you want to do? Like, okay, I want to lose 30 pounds. Okay, cool. Well, let's set a realistic goal by when. They're like, all right, cool. That's by when. All right, well, here's what you do. You figure out what you need to do every day, and then you forget about the goal.
Right.
This is what I need to do every day.
Keep doing it, make a lifestyle.
Right, and just do it. And then before you know it, you'll get there. And you might even forget. You'll just keep doing the thing.
Yeah.
And then one day you'll get on the scale, which if I'm honest, I don't know that getting on the scale is a really an accurate metric necessarily. I usually tell people if you like the way you look and you like the way you feel, barring any kind of body like dysmorphia issues you might have, if you have a healthy self-image, if you like the way you look and you like the way you feel, then you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But then, one day you should get on the scale. You're like, oh, well, I've just lost 40 pounds.
Yeah, just put in the work.
Yeah. And it's like amazing. But I mean, I like that idea that if you want to do the big thing, you have to do the little things to get there.
You have to set small goals to reach your ultimate goal. And you really should never have an ultimate goal, right? You should.
It's ever evolving.
Yeah, because when you get there, it's like the arrival fallacy. Are you guys familiar with that?
Yeah, it's
like,
always you. Yeah. You always feel like you have more to do because you should. If you run out of stuff to do, you're dead.
True, and that's my dad. He's 80, and he's actually a professional poker player now.
Oh, that's cool.
So he I'm not the last couple of years. He's been stuck at home. He also had like a minor heart attack, and he's had bypass surgeries, and he's wicked old. So he's just kind of stuck at home. He lives in Texas. So
okay.
But that's kind of one thing that he and I talked about is he was like, his big goal. He's like, he doesn't. I don't even know if he cares if he wins. There's like World Series of Poker. There's like these kind of satellite tournaments, and if you win one, you basically get like a free seat at the World Series of Poker.
Oh, that's cool.
And so his goal was to kind of get to one of those, win one, so then he can get the free seat, so he doesn't have to pay, and then just be there and do it.
Right.
And he said, when I don't have anything left to do or any other goals, I may as well just be dead. And it's the definition of morbid, because talking about being dead. I mean, this is the same guy. Like he and I sat one day and tried to figure out when we thought he was going to die. I was like, I don't know. It's like 5 years seems a little unfair. Maybe like 8.
Should have 80.
Yeah.
Are you the youngest of multiple siblings, or?
Yeah, I have 2 sisters.
Okay.
One is 42. The other one is 45.
Okay.
Unless her daughter is listening.
Well, he got started late regardless, though, yeah. Even if... So I'm 41. My dad's 60. He just turned 66.
Oh, yeah. Well...
So, yeah, that's...
Because I don't know how old... I guess for my mom's like almost... I think she's like 8 or 9 years younger than my dad.
Okay.
But I have this running joke where I tell my daughter... Actually, today is one of my sister's birthdays. So I forgot about that. Well, I sent her a text earlier, but I forgot just in the moment that today is actually her birthday. So she is actually now 46.
Oh.
So as of today. But I have this running joke with her daughter that she's 29 from now on. So it's a joke for me. Her daughter just thinks I'm a moron. She thinks her uncle's just the densest, most ridiculous, unintelligent human alive. And she might not be completely incorrect. I don't know. Jury's still out. So yeah, it's but I mean, it is true what you say, I guess, with goals. And like, dudes like you two, like you're entrepreneur, like business type dudes, like you're constantly arriving. So,
yeah.
And how you already expect it now. Like when you get there, it's like, oh, I got this thing, this house, this car, this business, this goal with this business, made this much revenue this year. And you're like, now what?
It's like that with everything, though. Everything is a process. I mean, even if you're eating a steak, you eat it one bite at a time. If you eat the whole steak, you'll just die. You're gonna choke to death.
Challenge accepted.
But it's like even in art, like with acting or writing, it's there's a learning process, and it never stops. You're always learning. Even with business, everything you do, you're constantly learning and trying to improve and set small goals. And I just look at, I have to be really busy or I'll get depressed. So I have to have a lot of things that I'm working on. And sometimes I get a little overwhelmed too. Sometimes the anxiety, I always experience a lot of anxiety, but that's also what drives me. But I try to take on a lot constantly. That way, I'm not. I don't feel like I'm not being productive. But at the same time, I look at each project that I'm working on, and I'll to not get overwhelmed. I look at it in like segments. So I think about, what do I need to do to move this project forward a step, and then I'll focus on what I need to do to move that project forward one step, and then I'll do that with all the projects. So so I'm not thinking about. I know where I want to go. Like I know where I want the projects to go, but I'm not trying to do it all at once, because that's when you get overwhelmed. It's just, how do I keep everything moving forward constantly without getting overwhelmed or without getting ahead of myself? Because you can also take on too much at once, and then you're like, oh shit, I messed up. Like I've got to set something to the side. The least important thing is gonna suffer because I've taken on too much. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes things happen, and you have to. It takes your attention away from other projects to maybe resolve an issue, or something went backwards, so you have to push it back, up to the front. But it's just like that with everything. It's just taking one step at a time, and also being in the moment. We've talked about this, is you can easily, especially if you're really busy, you can just kind of miss your life. Like you'll just wake up one day and 5 years have gone by and you don't know what happened. Yeah. You've been so busy that you just missed everything. So I think you have to focus on all your projects. You have to have priorities. You can't let your family suffer. You have to, family and friends, you have to pay attention to them, keep them first. And sometimes you have to make sacrifices that take away from family and friends, especially if you're an entrepreneur or an artist, something where it's all on you. But you can find ways to balance your time and manage your time well. But also just being in the moment, appreciating the moment. When you get overwhelmed, just be happy that you're alive, that you have this opportunity, that you have this moment, because really the moment's all that exists. Everything else is either the past or the future, and neither one of those exists. They're not real things. They're the past is memories. Maybe it's a real thing. Maybe time's not a real thing. Maybe it's all happening at once. We just perceive it in a linear fashion. But even if that's the case, for our conscious experience, the only thing that exists is right now in this moment. And I think being aware of that's a big part of it.
The moment's a powerful thing too. And for me, like, bro, I can speak to all the points you just made. Are you ready? Everything. All right. So the moment. Well, okay. Back up. So I have to get to the place where I want to be to then speak to all the points that you made. So this thing happened. Maybe I don't know 4 or 5 years ago, where I realized that through the technology that we're using now, there was a way that I could ride bicycles, that I could pedal faster because I can't pedal harder.
Right. Yeah.
So, I bought one bike and then bought another bike and bought a few others and then sold this one and sold that one. And then what I ended up with was 2 bikes, a mountain bike that actually, it's funny. I have like 4 YouTube videos of like me riding mountain bike trails from a few years ago. So one of the many endeavors that I've kind of started and been like, screw this, and then I stopped. So actually, if you look at, well, I'll get to that in a bit, but to actually plug all the channels and the whatnot, the media. But I also had a road bike that was like a flat bar road bike, and I started. This is your point about getting overwhelmed. I've been riding for a while. And I found a way that I could put like a really, really big cassette, I could get huge gears on the back. So the bigger the bigger the gear in the back, on the back, meaning the wheel in the back, and the smaller the gear on the crankset, the easier it is to pedal. But the faster you have to pedal, and sometimes it's wasted power, blah blah blah, physics, so on and so forth. So I decided that I was going to aim really high. Thought that I couldn't do it, so maybe I'll try it. I was gonna do 100 miles, a century they call it, and there is an event here, the Carolina Century, and I was gonna do that. And what I did is I got a map of the actual course, and I trained on that. Here's the thing, though. I overtrained, under-rested, under-ate. I did everything wrong. So I think the longest I made it was like 50 miles, maybe 45 or 50 while I was
Still
training.
impressive, though.
Yeah. And just completely screwed myself, like, altogether. And the perceived reason at the time was because I couldn't get an actual road bike, like with drop bars and all that.
Right, yeah.
Because of the type of cassette that I would need to use in the back, the gear set was so big
Right.
that it was a mountain bike cassette. And I had to use
Just so they know what you're talking about, cassette. It's like sprockets.
Yeah, it's the the cassette's all the gears, like the whole
Yeah.
little section of gears.
It's multiple sprockets
so thick,
connected to each other. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so meaning the biggest gear on the back that I would want to put on is 46, which is enormous. That's like this big. And if you look at most road bike people, when they ride by me, they're like, "What the hell is that?" Or they'll be like, "Why is that on your bike?"
Yeah.
But the reason why is because you need to put the derailleur, which is a little arm that switches the gears in the back. You have to put a long cage derailleur on there. It's got just basically a longer metal section on it, so it can take up all the chain.
Right.
Because from 46 to 11, the 11 tooth is like
It's a
this
big difference, yeah.
Yeah. But there's an adapter that I found where you could take the little shifters that are integrated into the brake levers, and you could adapt them to where when you hit the switches on them, the pull for the cable, you could actually put all that stuff on a road bike. So then I found this road bike for like, it was a $1,600 road bike I got for like $800. Put some money into it. I learned in the midst of me riding bikes, I learned a lot about them. So
What brand is it?
it's a Cannondale.
Okay, yeah.
And not because I have any kind of brand loyalty, because if you look, most of the aluminum frames are made by the same people anyway.
Yeah. I have a
So-
Trek, this hybrid style bike like you're talking about.
A Trek?
Yeah, it's got the flat handlebars.
Neil, we got to talk about this later, buddy.
I've ridden it like 3 times.
I'm just kidding. There's nothing wrong with Trek. They're decent bikes. They're just kind of like, they're the brand everybody loves to hate because I don't know. I'll berate you over lunch. For this one
I'm
day.
not a cyclist, so hate away.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, but I don't know, dude. You're a little too jacked to be a cyclist. Look, we're gonna need to shrink your biceps if we want to make you a cyclist. This guy can't climb. It's okay. Neither can this guy.
I can take a leg off this, so I can drop some weight.
I forgot about I feel like such a jerk right now. But you could. The Trek that you have, I've seen.
I can pedal it. It's just uncomfortable. If I used a different leg, it would be easier. But it's the range of motion.
You see, you hear him complaining about his leg.
I know.
Like, oh, if I could use a different
Such a
leg.
bitch.
So, yeah, I can complain about both of mine. Had to one up you.
I would rather have this. I sure, yeah.
Yeah, me too, buddy. Me too. So I don't even remember all the points I was trying to hit with what you were saying, but then I kind of sort of set this road bike up, and I was
Small
thinking,
goals and
and I was like, I need to get to a place that's a little flatter. Like I can't do all this climbing. And I was like, I got to find another place. So on the coast, it's very flat. Interesting thing though, you don't have to climb, but you also can't really coast.
Right.
There's some slight downhill grades, and you can get. You'd actually be surprised how much speed you can get up on those, but it's like still not real coasting. And even then, like real cyclists don't coast anyway. So you always want to get as much power down as you can, as much as you can, if you want to. And what I mean by real is the crazy people, the actual bikies, the lunatics like myself. And it seemed like impossible to me. And the training I did when I did jiu-jitsu, the guy that trained me, Mr. Snyder, he said the training should always be twice as bad as the fight. So I was like, okay, so if I train in this really hilly area and every day just kind of go on, and I made up like a different training plan than I had before. It was 10 miles in the middle of the week, and then the long ride was on the weekend. And I started out, I think it was 25, and then I think I did 30, and then 40, and then 50, and I think I got up to 60. And what I read and what I heard, and thank God for YouTube, by the way.
Yeah, seriously.
What I read and what I heard was that if you can get up to like 60, maybe 75, then you can make the 100. So it was like 60, 65 I got up to, and I was like, you know what? I'm doing this. I'm totally doing this. So, went out to Elizabeth City, stayed at a cheap hotel that was in let's call it a noisy part of town. Didn't sleep great. Woke up in the morning and like it was the day of the thing. And the thing about being in the moment, we're going to get to that. I started and the weather was not ideal. It was overcast, and definitely rain was imminent. So it did rain on me doing this event. And the thing that I heard was, think of it as you're doing 4 25-mile rides.
Yeah,
And
that's
if
good.
you think of it
Small
that
goals.
way, right,
Yeah.
then you don't get overwhelmed. And I'm just going to go out, just going to do a 25-mile ride. That's it. And then you get done with that one. All right, another 25-mile ride. Just 25, no big deal.
Right.
And you kind of keep going. And certain parts of this actually get kind of funny toward the end. But it rained. And by the time I got to the end, it was dark. The event started at like 9 a.m., I think. It might have been later than that. I can't remember. But it was dark by the time I got back to the starting point. The support had ended. There was nobody like driving the course anymore, and it was just dark, and I was all alone. And just kind of riding through like a park area toward the end. It's funny, when I got to 75 miles, I had these little Cliff sells these little energy block things.
Mm-hmm.
But I got the ones with the caffeine in them. And I think in each pack there's 100 and some milligrams.
It's a lot of caffeine, yeah.
So I ate 3 of them. And I mean, I did great. I mean, caffeine's probably the only legal performance enhancing drug there is.
Right.
And toward the end, I was able to like kind of get through it. My knee started bugging me a little bit. I was dead by the end of it. But, when I got done, I felt like really, really good. And I was super excited. And, as I'm sure you guys know and you've heard, it lasts like 10 minutes. The feeling you have, arrival fallacy. I'd never done it before. Over the course of, a couple months of my life, everything I had was completely focused on this.
Yeah.
And I have numerous hobbies. I may or may not have some kind of undiagnosed ADHD, which, I mean, you and I have talked about that. Like, we don't like that that's necessarily labeled as a pathology because it might just be how some people's brains are. But
right, yeah.
But it was just weird though that it's what now? Like, what do I do now? Like that, I'm about to do the hardest thing I've ever done, and now the hardest thing I've ever done is over with.
Yeah.
Like, and just the thing you're saying about being in the moment, like thinking about it now, like I would almost give anything just to be there again, just pedaling. That was my whole life for 13 hours, by the way.
Yeah.
11 and a half hours on the bike. But
those really intense physical, physical exercises, a lot of times when you're doing that, that's the best way to get in the moment too. Like you get into a real flow state doing stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, especially when the thing that you're doing is just, it's essentially a cycle.
So that's a huge accomplishment, man. You should still be proud of yourself for doing that. That's a big deal.
Yeah. I don't like to go 100 miles in the car most of the time.
Right? I don't either.
It's like Charlotte's just right there.
Right, 90 miles, yeah.
If you
it literally takes me 2 hours in the car with traffic to get home every day, and it's about that. So it's like all right, I'm sitting here thinking, that's what I was visualizing. I was like, man, that'd be like me riding my bike. Actually further than riding my bike home every day. I'm like, nah, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
that's a lot. That's a lot.
It's a whole lot, yeah.
And it is a weird feeling because there is a certain type of fear that you feel because even though you're riding a route, at the furthest point, you're maybe, 30 miles as the crow flies from where you started without zigging and zagging around the route that you're taking. But even then, like, if something happens or you think that that's it, like, turning back is still going to take you a while.
Right, yeah, you're still way away.
And, it was something I was prepared. Like I had an extra tube with me. I mean, I run tubeless tires just because they're lighter, but I had an inner tube in case there was a puncture and I needed it. But you know, I overpacked gear. I had these. Have you guys ever had Stroop waffles before? They'll give them to you on planes.
Yep,
I don't think so. I haven't had them.
They're like these little. They're about yay big. It's like a little and just a tiny. It's like a little pastry.
I've had stuff like
they're
that.
they're really good
waffle thing. Yeah, I had like 20 of those in my in the pouch in my jersey because I could fit that many in there. But I'll tell you what, man, like it takes a lot of talent to be able to open something, eat it, and then put the wrapper in a pocket that's on your back while you're riding a bicycle. And there's a couple times where like I was just sitting there like eating one of them and I dropped it. I was like, nope, waste of time. Can't go back for that. Got to keep going.
Yeah.
But I'm also thinking now, like I want to do other stuff.
Yeah.
I want to do something else.
Well,
You know, they have those electric bikes now too.
Which I'm not going to touch until I just know.
Well, it's an electric bicycle, but you can still pedal
Yeah,
it, so you
like
can
they don't-
choose how
right.
much work you do.
They
Yeah.
don't. I mean, they don't go unless you pedal them. It's I guess
Right. Yeah.
electronically assisted.
Yeah.
And I won't touch one until I know that that's it. Like,
Yeah,
Until I
yeah.
know that like my legs just can't do it anymore, no matter how big I go on gearing and stuff. I just can't do it.
If I ever get into cycling, that's the way I'm going.
Wait, you know what? I'll let you know when I buy mine. You can get
Yeah.
one.
Give me a review.
y'all tag team it up.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, if you were to have to get on a bike right now and go 10 miles, is that a problem?
Not at all.
20?
Maybe.
Yeah. But 10's easy, right?
10's nothing. I mean, 10 miles you can shred through on a bike. Most average people can get through
Yeah.
10 miles in about an hour.
So to put this in perspective, so like with us, when you say, we hit the finish line a lot, but it's like you training for that 100-mile race, right? Like we've conditioned ourselves. We know what the outcome is. We know what all the roadblocks are. We know the break it up into 25s or whatever the thing,
Yeah.
right? And so when someone looks at like a goal, like we have these little, they're big accomplishments, but to us they're kind of like micro accomplishments. And they're on an overall path that our company's going. To us it's kind of like the 10-mile bike ride, right? Because we train for the 100-mile. And that's kind of like how it is in business. Like if you do the small steps enough to hit the big goal, once you've hit the big goal, right, you like you just said, hey, you're looking for the next thing to do. Well, that's the same way we are in business. It's the same principle actually. And then the small goals, the small steps actually start to be like 10 miles. Oh, it's nothing. Like for us to do something that we would consider small, like to bring it full circle, I can't ride a bike 10 miles. I've 100 pounds ago, I bought a bike, and I bought one that, and I don't know enough about it, but basically my thought process was I wanted a bike that was a mountain bike that somebody was designed to jump. Very expensive, very strong frame, and they're going to do all these tricks, right? I'm not doing any tricks. I just wanted to be able to support my weight because I don't want the front wheel tacoing, right? Like at whatever, 20 miles an hour downhill, whatever, and it tacoing and me rolling, right?
Yeah.
But the real problem is that at 400 and whatever pounds, I couldn't ride a bike at all. And just in the last few months, I can do like 2 or 3 laps around my neighborhood, but I can't do 10 miles, right? So if you think about it, it's like something that you said is just super easy. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody could go out and do the 10 miles. And that's kind of the way we relate in business. Like we've just conditioned ourselves to do it, whereas some people think things are impossible or they can't do it or they don't know how to do it. We've just done it. We've trained like you have. So, and then like you're saying, the moment you finish one thing, that enjoying that moment only lasts for so long, and then you're kind of looking for the next mountain to climb, right, or the next anthill to build, or whatever the case.
But in your case too, you're experiencing diminishing returns with the physical activity. So for you, cycling is more of a necessity, right? Because is there a risk of if you train too hard, does it have a negative impact on you long term, or is it? How do you balance your training and also? I'm sure you have goals that are more like cognitive goals, like mental goals that are just that are your bigger goals in life, right? The stuff that you're pursuing.
Yeah. Well, I guess to answer the first question, athletic training is, you pay the consequences. Everybody does.
Yeah.
You know, like someone knee problems. Okay, you were a lineman in high school, weren't you? Like, yeah, I was. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Certain types of knee problems you see with football. I mean, same with basketball. Have you seen LeBron James' feet? Oof.
Yeah. Well, I train light now.
Yeah.
I train light for longevity. I'm more focused on staying healthy
Right.
and
Ronnie
just fit.
Coleman, bodybuilder, he can't even like,
destroyed
walk
his body.
now. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, so you pay the consequences for all of it. Like if you overexert, then you're gonna pay for it. Now,
Right.
I think as medically, I honestly don't really know. There's just not very much known about my disorder to the point where if exercise is good, but it's how much, what
Right,
kind.
yeah.
Like, and when I lift weights about as heavy as I can go. Like I'm not doing like, what's his name? The British guy. Dorian Yates.
Oh,
I'm not
yeah,
doing
yeah.
like Dorian Yates heavy, like where he just total failure where you can't even move anymore.
Yeah.
But it's
HIIT
like
training.
Yeah, it's just
I don't promote that either.
yeah. I mean, I you know, if other people want to, maybe not for
If you're
me.
young, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he was young at the time
Yeah.
too. Dorian was. So, you know, I mean, there might be, you know, some maybe. I mean, who knows? Repetitive use is a problem. You know,
Sure.
for every kind of
For
athlete
everyone,
or
yeah.
worker of any
Yeah.
kind. You know, tennis elbow is a thing. But you know, it you talk about the cognitive goals, and for me, it's kind of like, well, like okay, I guess let me address the physical part, and then I'll kind of sort of drift to your question.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, I think when I look at the century, the 100 miles like that I did, like in a you know less than 24 hours, it's that was. I look back and I'm like, I'm really glad that I did that when I could.
Sure.
And I don't know if I can now. Like, I mean, I don't ride like I used to on road bikes. I mean, honestly, like you do that, you get kind of burnt out on riding. So I didn't touch the road bike for months, and all I did was mountain bike. And
Okay.
I actually sold my mountain bike recently, but you know, it's you. Oh my god, I totally just lost my train of thought.
Well, just about goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, like right now, the thing that I'm looking at possibly doing is I would actually like to hike the Ozark Trail. It's like 200 and some miles.
Oh.
But I have to do a bunch for that. I have to train up. I have to get some hiking poles or whatever they call them.
Yeah.
And learn a little bit, remember all the stuff I forgot from Boy Scouts, and like have to camp a couple days and stuff like that. And when I was
Right.
talking to, I don't remember who I was talking to about it, but I was talking to someone maybe at work, that the reason why I wanted to do that is because I want to look back on it and think, I'm glad I did that when I could.
Right.
And, you know, I want to be able to sit and talk to the younger people that I know, or like even the people my age, and like actually have some war stories to tell, you know.
Yeah.
The fact that or die trying is a possibility for something makes it just a little more appealing to me.
Yeah.
And I know
Well, you
that's
should
nuts.
document it, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that have muscular dystrophy that would be inspired by you
Yeah.
and seeing you do that. And you know, I'm sure there's a mental aspect of the disease too that a lot of people face, where maybe they don't have the mental fortitude to keep pushing forward. And you know, it seems like those types of degenerative diseases, they're going to accelerate if you don't try to fight
Right.
against it.
Yeah. I have
Yeah.
a tattoo on my right arm. It's I don't know if your camera can even see it, but I can show it to you guys. So this is part of it's dorky, the other part's cool.
Oh,
so
no,
the
yeah.
symbol, this is actually from a video game called Apex Legends. The Bangalore is one of the characters in Apex Legends. Their ultimate ability, that's the symbol for it. But on the top and the bottom, it says "Never stop moving."
That's cool.
My uncle with muscular dystrophy, that's one of the last things he said to me. If it were the last thing, then we'd be in a movie. But it was one of the last things he said to me.
Right.
And so, like, when he told me that, I was like, okay, cool. And you know, it hurt a lot when he died,
Sure.
because like the only person in my family that could relate to me was gone,
Yeah.
and we didn't have long to talk like about it, because by the time he found out, I think the first time we talked about it was the last time.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, do you know what your deathbed looks like? I do. Isn't that great?
Wow.
Oh no. Hopefully I get hit by a truck before then.
Nah.
I'm just kidding. You know I want to get hit by a Porsche. Maybe even Neil's.
Let's really hope that doesn't happen. Yeah,
It's big enough. I'm glad you didn't get the little ones. But you know, and you talk about the. My monitor just went out. My headphones. Hope that's not a big deal. Did I unplug it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I did. I'm such a dweeb.
Because you're coming in loud and clear.
Okay. Feel free to edit that out if you do.
I won't keep it in there. That's fine.
Yeah,
If
it's
this
all
is
good.
in here, they failed at editing.
We don't edit.
Yeah, it's better that way. It's more organic.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
right.
actually glad you guys don't. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, the podcast side, we never.
I mean, if you really wanted us to edit something out, we would. But
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's not a big deal. It's like that's just the IT guy not knowing how to plug a thing into another.
all
thing.
that illegal stuff you were talking about earlier, we'll take that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank God. Look, I didn't know it was illegal at the time.
Ignorance of the law is no excuse, son.
Look, I mean, who knew that drinking Mountain Dew in certain parts of Idaho was illegal?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's a
But we'll
weird
be
world we
living.
live in.
But you talk about like sort of cognitive goals and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a place where I can shamelessly plug myself.
Yes.
I'm excited. So the cognitive, it's almost like you did that on purpose. The cognitive goals are kind of for me, like I've always just sort of had this desire to be a better human. And that comes from everything from like communicating with people better to handling emotions better. And anger's an emotion. Did you hear that, Mr. Toxic Masculinity? Anger's an emotion. I actually don't like the term. I'm differentiating between
Yeah, I
that
don't like it
kind,
either. Yeah, it's
that kind
nonsense.
and the other kind, which is
Right.
not
Yeah.
bad.
Just don't be an asshole, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simple general rule.
Yeah.
Don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I used a word I didn't like. It's like I don't even like Parmesan cheese, but I put it on spaghetti all the time. I do it with everything. But there's a part of what I do that is 100% mental. The physical stuff is that it's the ability to kind of push through the discomfort and kind of push through the pain. Because for me, it's never ever going to be how fast, but how far can be a thing.
Right.
And how far, like, I don't know, till I literally cannot move anymore.
Right.
Like until
Yeah.
there is nothing left. I just stop and that's it. And I have to call for help. That's
Yeah.
about how far. But, one thing that, so I stream. I stream video games on Twitch. It's distance_X. So twitch.tv/distance_X. I also have a YouTube channel. There's not really any gaming stuff on there, but there's like some old mountain biking videos.
What's your YouTube channel?
It's just the same thing. It's
okay.
distance_X.
Cool.
And I kind of despise social networking stuff, not because there's anything inherently wrong with it, but because when I use it, it takes up a lot of time. So I'm not
Right.
really on any other stuff. But I've been playing video games since I was a kid, and I kind of stopped for a while, got back into it, and the thing that drives me up the wall is that there's all these opportunities in gaming that you can use to be better. And a lot of people just sort of don't even recognize it. Like when you get tilted or you rage in a video game, that it's not, don't do it, first of all, because that's an
Right.
opportunity you can learn. You can use that to be better. You can use this as a tool to gain self-control.
I've heard
And-
someone recently talk about this too. Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a missed opportunity. But
Yeah.
there's other stuff like communication. Like there's one of my favorite games that I was talking about it earlier, Valorant. It's team based in a way that if you don't communicate, you will, especially in the higher like ranks in the game, you'll lose. You have to communicate and you have to do it effectively. It's a way to overcome shyness. It's a way to learn how to speak in a way that's concise and clear quickly. And it's high pressure situations. Like when you're playing competitive because you want to win. And the
Right.
stress level is high and it's real, where you have to be able to control and like have good comms, talk in a way that's appropriate. There's the temptation to blame your team, not take responsibility. Actually, I played
Right.
with someone today that I was by myself in a high pressure situation and I choked. It was the first round and the person told me my name online, Distance. He said, Distance, never play this game again. And it was in the text chat, the game, and I was like, in voice chat, I was like, that was completely unhelpful. Like just so you know, it was unhelpful.
Yeah.
And I said, like it or not, we're on the same team right now. So when you say something like that to a teammate, it's a detriment to you, because then that causes or could cause your teammate to feel uneasy. and kind of doubt their confidence, which
Right.
is a bad thing for
Sure.
you and the rest of the team.
Yeah.
And then what I said to the person next was maybe a little cutting, but I felt like it was necessary. I said, so it's obvious that you were either a child or an immature adult. if you're a child, it's okay. You still have time to learn. If you're an adult, grow up.
Yeah.
And, you know, to me, it's irritating when, like, older people in the game, like, you know, 30s and 40s, 50s even, act this way. I'm like, dude, really? Toxic behavior isn't good. And what do you need to do? It's like you elevate the good things.
Yeah.
And you kind of, if it's not a fatal error, then you kind of diminish the bad.
You can joke about it too.
Right.
You can deal with it in a joking way, and it gets the point across. It's like, hey, you fucked up, dude, but it's cool.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
It's a good thing. It's a good thing you're going to respawn. It's just a game.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
Or I'll be like,
Yeah.
Usually what I'll say is like, it's okay. Next round.
Next round.
There's another round. It's cool.
It is good. I can see how that could be really good for teamwork.
Well, I agree completely.
Emotional control. Like, yeah.
I don't say too much. So, Kyle King, that's a guy I met on League of Legends when I was living in Colorado. So I have an extremely addictive personality, so I stay away from video games.
I understand.
And also I'm extremely busy, and I felt like it killed my productivity. There was a period of my life where it would kill my productivity. So I was like, okay, I'm just staying away from video games. But there was a window where I was trapped in Colorado for 8 months, and I was working, but there was only so much work to do. The opportunity was the opportunity, and I was extremely efficient. And during my free time, I played League of Legends. So anyway, I met a guy, a much younger guy, but he's probably in his early 20s now, maybe mid 20s. But his name was Kyle King, and I met him on League of Legends, and through you were talking about like the camaraderie and getting people to open up and talk and social skills and things like that. So we would chat through League of Legends, and so it got to be one. I met a good friend through a video game, which I think is kind of funny, and we still are in communication some today. But it's funny that you bring that up, because I think he would say that he had at one point would have a shyness about him or social anxiety or social awkwardness. But he would get on League and he just knew it. Like, he was a strong player. He knew the roles. He knew the positions. He was helpful. He was a positive person. He had an opportunity to be a leader. Like, there were things like where I just didn't know. He was constantly educating me on what my champion or whatever player I was using would do, what his abilities were and combinations. And it was just kind of interesting to see somebody like, you know, take that role in that position and that thing, be so confident in it, when in real life – maybe they didn't portray that all the time. So I thought that was kind of cool. But I just want to bring that up because that made me think of Kyle.
And, I mean,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And if Kyle chose, and hopefully Kyle has, like, if he chose to, I mean, he could take all the things that he has in League, which, by the way, I would like to point out, I played League of Legends sometimes in my free time. Said no one ever. That as far as addiction goes, that game is... You what?
I don't want to tell you our rank. So you got to log like a tremendous amount of time just to be able to play ranked, right?
Yep.
A tremendous amount of time. I'm not going to tell you how much because Neil's going to judge me, but a lot of time. And then, you know, a considerable amount of time past that to get anywhere substantial. So where you're out of dealing with noobs. I mean, it just was ridiculous. I'm not proud.
So what was your rank?
I'm not good.
I don't even know what the ranks are. Do they have like diamond or?
Yeah.
You were diamond?
No, I never broke into diamond. My brother Mitchell, one of the middle brothers, definitely continued to play and ended up making it. And I want to say he went platinum. I can't remember, but like one of the top levels.
Wow.
Do you remember in the 90s, like in rap music, going platinum meant something completely different?
Oh yeah.
It's like you just said now platinum's a rank. So and
he went to because I know he passed time in. They did the competitive teams. So then the league started to come out with these weird rules, like you couldn't. So if you were on a team, you couldn't be with somebody that wasn't within, say, 2 ranks of what you were. So it kept people from carrying you. So like Mitchell was a much stronger player than I was. I could get on with Mitch and we could rank together, and our ranked team would be a higher rank, right?
Oh, okay.
So they banned that. I was like, "Fuck you," to league. But anyway, yeah. So
I think
most
platinum-
people live in bronze, like they live in that. Basically, you just got into ranked where you're able to actually compete against other people, and you're just essentially it's kind of like for kids, white belt is the beginning. when you hit the youth black belt, like that's like bronze. That's like the entry level. That's where the journey begins, kind of deal. And
or
that's kind of
like
where
a blue
everybody
belt
everybody
jiu-jitsu
kind
or
of gets. Yeah, I mean maybe, but everybody gets stuck there. And then it takes real time and talent in league, time and talent to progress.
Gotcha.
So I went silver. I mean, I went several times, and then I just could never break. I go like S1. I could never get S5, S4, S3, S2, S1. You have to. I mean, you're playing 20, 30 matches just to get to a point where you got to win 3 out of 5 or whatever. And
wow.
It can just.
I'd start at like 10 o'clock at night, and 7 o'clock the next morning I'm still playing.
Wow.
And,
consuming.
Yeah, big time. And then I'd be like, all right, well, I've got time to eat, and I got to open the store at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I did that for a long time.
Like I said no one ever.
Yeah.
No one plays that game casually. And League
funny.
it's a MOBA, mobile online battle arena, and those games are. I'm too unintelligent for those games. I'm like a first person shooter bro.
Right.
That's what I would call myself. Like, I mean, I'm not quite like as deplorable as Call of Duty.
Right.
That is just like the underbelly of online gaming. And, that's another thing that I'd like to mention, too.
It's a fun game, though.
It's all, I mean, you just, run around and blast people. It's easy. You just, and like everyone's dead.
Yeah.
And
I haven't played
camp
video
in a
games in a
corner.
long time.
the guns have no recoil, and, you can blast off. Like, they have 60-round magazines that somehow don't get in the way. It's Call of Duty Call of Duty is just the place where people are nasty to each other.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
And one thing
I've never
pisses
played
me off-
online, so.
Oh,
I always shut everybody
Not that game.
off and just play.
do what?
I always just shut everybody off and just play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in many cases, muting all of the everything is good, and they're actually really disrespectful to female players in Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Like they'll notice like if a name has Princess or Sparkles or Queen or something in it, like they'll say stuff like, "Oh, hey, are you a girl? Are you a girl? Do you want to do it? Can we do it?" Like, or just stupid stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I was actually playing one match. It's with a female player that was completely silent, and the same stuff happened. And it's I can't even remember the name of the mode, but it's like it's round based and there's objectives, and in the round you die, that's it. She actually pulls out a pistol, like a little suppressed, I don't know what it was, and she runs in and shreds the entire other team with just this pistol, just to prove a point. I was sitting there thinking, I was like, you know what? She practices with that pistol just for these types of situations where people want to be douches and say stuff like that to her. But the thing about Valorant is that the community there, it's a very major game. If you look it up, just go on Twitch and type it in. You'll see all kinds of stuff on there. Like there's millions of people watching, people streaming it at any given time. They're very respectful. There's actually a lot of female players in Valorant, which is super cool. And everyone's very respectful, and the community is not particularly toxic. Now, in competitive, it is reasonable to get annoyed at certain stuff. If somebody does something that's just dumb enough, you are playing to win. So
right, yeah.
It's
trying
normal,
to rank up or something.
Right. But for the most part, people tend to be really respectful of everyone. And I like the community, and I try to decrease any kind of toxicity and people blaming teams and things like that. I call this stuff out very often, like the interaction I had today with that player that was being somewhat toxic. Like I just, then when other teams want to talk trash, like it's because if you're good, you don't need to talk trash.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, if you're really good, do you ever have that happen where the other team will forfeit on purpose?
Or they'll just throw the match.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So this is funny, but
in Valorant, there's actually a surrender button,
really,
so they can vote to surrender.
see, that's awesome. So check this out. In League, there were times, very rarely, we would get smashed when we're playing in tournaments, getting killed. Like they're about to beat the entire. The match is over in 13 minutes. Like these matches usually run 45 minutes to an hour. It's over in 13 minutes, right? And the team would lose on purpose.
Wow.
They would smash you, never say a word, lose on purpose, and be like, "Good game, you guys. Good luck." And these are like professional teams. This is how they would practice, and they would lose on purpose. And they're on this. People would have other alternate accounts, and they would only lose. So no matter how well they did, they would intentionally lose at the end. I thought that was kind of cool.
Interesting. Yeah.
But I guess the point is
they're trying not to rank you down.
They're so good that they're trying to work on moves and new champs, and they're trying to work out the bugs on things, and they would practice on us, and then they would lose on purpose. as like a
Cool.
sign of.
Yeah, they could like. There's a thing called smurfing, where you.
That's
go-
probably what they.
you
Yeah.
go to,
See, I'm not familiar with the terminology.
That's not smurfing is where you go to a lower rank and smash people just for fun,
Right.
And just win like hell and just to be a jerk,
Right.
Whereas they're doing a thing like where they're doing that as like a training exercise, which is super cool. I mean, I played another game. Are you familiar with StarCraft?
Yeah.
So StarCraft is like a real-time strategy game.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Of course you have, because you're cooler than me. I mean, it's
Never played it. Just heard of it.
Exactly, because you're cooler than me. StarCraft 2.
Touche.
StarCraft 2 is like the major one, and I was actually playing in Silver League. I was in Silver, which is kind of bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, Grandmaster, I think. Whatever. Silver League, so I'm playing this game, and I'm absolutely get my ass kicked. I play Zerg, which are the spooky, beastie alien race, and then this guy was playing Protoss, which is the modern alien race. Essentially, they're the Neil. You would be playing as them because they're super modern and very techie and have like energy shields and stuff like that, which I would expect. I would find you to be attracted to that group. It's really funny because in the game they're called races. So if you walk into the wrong part of a StarCraft conversation, when people start talking about race, it can get really weird if you don't understand the actual subject matter of the conversation.
Okay, yeah.
But this guy just destroys me. And it's customary to say GG at the end, and the other player says GG, and his name is Stefano. And I was like, wait a second. So I typed in, I was like, after I said GG, I was like, wait, are you the, like in all caps, I said the Stefano? And Stefano's a pro, like a pro champion player. And he was like, yeah, it's me. And I was like, what are you doing in Silver League? He was like, oh man, I stopped playing for a while. I just got out of medical school. And he said he's a pro Zerg player. He plays the same race that I do, but he was playing Protoss for fun because he's just that good. He said, you need more hatcheries. And I was like, oh my God, Stefano just gave me advice. This is so cool. So I did what he said, and I got really good, and I got up to Gold League after that. So thank you, Stefano, wherever you are. But it was cool, like actually get to rub shoulders with a pro like that. But this is the thing. He used the money that he got playing StarCraft professionally to pay for medical school.
Wow, that's incredible.
And I think he's Croatian, maybe.
Huh.
If I can't remember. I'm sure that I said the wrong thing. I'm going to find out later and feel like an idiot. But I think he's Eastern European of some kind. But I mean, that was a cool experience, and you don't get to see that often.
Yeah, that's cool.
But it's gaming is a unique thing in that if you're into basketball, football, tennis, you may never get the opportunity to play with a pro. But in gaming, it can happen. Like you might end up in a situation where you actually get to play with them. And, we're at a point now where there's so much access to these people. A lot of the pros will stream and play stuff online. You can talk to them, chat, interact, closely with them. And that's another thing that I would kind of like to help with, like the younger people, is that a lot of the younger people, it's like when I was a little kid watching Flex Wheeler on stage. I just get to see the glamorous, greased up, buff dude with all the people like clapping with the lights on him. I don't know how much he's done. I don't know how miserable his life can be because of all the discipline he has to put into that. I mean, how many pieces of broccoli and naked pieces of chicken can you eat?
Yeah.
Seriously. Like how much like salmon that's baked? He's like, trust me. As many as it takes. But it's the same with pro gaming. You get to the point where you have to put in an amount of work, and people, they have little respect for it too.
Right,
like, oh, that's so silly. I'm like, well, isn't playing basketball for money kind of silly too?
I think when it's a pro level, it's kind of it's not really a game anymore.
Yeah.
It's something else.
I think that's why I quit bowling. I would rank bowling like down, like gaming's up here. The only reason I would rank traditional sports slightly higher is just more socially accepted, but I think that's changing.
Oh, yeah.
Bowling's way down here, right? But that's why I quit.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't fun anymore. It felt like a job, and I hated it. I was like, I hate this.
Yeah, and that
it didn't matter that I was good at it. I was like, I hated this. And I'm literally, this is not me challenging you, but if you want to go bowl, me and my bad knee will beat you. I'll let you pick the house ball. You can even give me the wrong size fingers. It won't matter, and I'll probably beat you.
You know, all three of us should go bowl together. We have an amputee, we have a guy with a messed up knee, and a dude with a neuromuscular disease. It's perfect.
That'll be awesome.
We were made for this.
That'll be great. We'll record it. I'm going to talk shit while I beat you guys, though, not in a toxic way, in a very polite, respectful way. I'm gonna bring some stuff like nuts and some bags of nuts and be like, here, hold my nuts. You know, I'm gonna talk a little shit.
And
I won't care.
I will hold those.
Yeah,
I would hold those for you. Like, we only just met tonight, but I feel like I'd be comfortable holding your nuts.
I appreciate that.
I wanted to say it with a straight face so bad.
I was trying not to laugh too. I should have been like, yes, that sounds good. Thank you.
So we were making eye contact and everything. Like, it was getting real weird.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I'm going to have to wrap this thing up.
We're going to have to wrap this thing up, too.
So one more time, tell them how to find your Twitch.
So, yeah, if you go, it's at twitch.tv/distance_X. I'm also on YouTube, distance_X. There's not a lot of videos on there right now for the gaming stuff. Haven't really gotten around to it. But what I would say is, like, parents, if you're watching, you think gaming's dumb, you think that your kids aren't going to learn anything from it, seriously, like, have them come by my stream and check me out. I am actually there to try to reach out to children and other people my age to show them that, you know, there's more that we can be other than just gamers.
Yeah, it can be a career today.
Right.
And also, people that have muscular dystrophy, any advice for those people?
I want to plug. I think you should speak more, and I hope this podcast does that. But I think there's a lot of people out there, like you say, hey, there's not a lot of information. You gave us a lot of information today.
Right, yeah.
So maybe as you age and as you go through life and as you keep accomplishing these things and doing all these things that I'm going to say in air quotes, regular people aren't doing or can't do and won't challenge themselves to do, and you're doing it against the odds, maybe, like he was saying, document that and speak about that. I think that people would love to see that. It might be another way to inspire other people.
Yeah.
That may be going through younger generation that may be just now experiencing what you experienced 11 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, I probably it's. Well, I guess with muscular dystrophy is there's several different kinds. I don't know whatever kind you might have. Life sucks. It was going to anyway. I get that you're upset with other people that take things for granted because, you know, maybe you don't have control over your muscles like you want to. You aren't as strong as you want to be. But I assure you, if we didn't have this, we would be taking something else for granted. So, I mean, whatever you want to do, just do what you can. And if you can't do it as well as everybody else, stop comparing yourself to everybody else. We're different. As Professor Xavier say, we are mutant and proud. So just wear it. Be proud of it. Stop trying to hide. Stop trying to pretend like you're not what you are. Stop waiting till no one's there to climb the stairs. Stop waiting till no one's watching before you lift up the thing. And just recognize that you can have a strength that isn't physical, that there's many ways to be strong. And not only can you be a better version of yourself, but you can be an example to other people to show them how much better they can be if they want to try. And like I said, it sucks, and there's no getting around it, but we can make positives out of it. It's not a death sentence. It doesn't have to be a death sentence. And you don't have to hate yourself because of it, because I've done that. And it doesn't make any sense and it won't help. And also, never stop moving.
Yeah. Well said, man.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Michael, it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Yeah, man. Enjoyed it.
If you guys enjoyed the episode, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next week.
Later, guys.
Bye, guys.
All right.
You couldn't have planned it better.